It's time for another mystery box challenge. Hi everyone, my name is Shannon. I want to welcome you here to my channel, The Daily DIYer. Now, I'm pretty sure I've completely lost my mind for this mystery box challenge, as not only am I doing it here on the Daily DIYer channel, I'm also taking part today over on my other channel, The Cozy Christmas Cottage. Now, if you didn't know, yes, I have a second channel that is devoted to all things Christmas, so I will link that down in the description box so you can check that out later, or you can hit the playlist link that'll also be down there and cycle through all of the people and DIYers that are taking part in the Mystery Box Challenge today, and you will stumble upon that too. So first off, thank you so much to Courtney from Creative on the Cheap for hosting this event. She is the one in charge, and she is the one who assigns us different DIYers. We pack a box full of Walmart items this time, send them over along with 2 challenge items that have to be used in this video. And the twist this month that she threw at us was we also had to include a project that we either have started or finished, and we have to send that along so the next person can finish it or revamp it and turn it into something different. So my box here is from Yami over at the Latina next door, and she told me that her husband is the one that picked out my mystery or my challenge items. So we'll see how that goes. So first up is a card on top, and oh, it's so pretty. It's a handmade card. I love sunflowers, beautiful. And she writes, "Hey Shannon, before you start, I just want to say the Latino engineer picked your challenge items. But I have full faith in you and I can't wait to see what you come up with, Yami." All right, so first up, I see this is what I'm assuming is the project that she started. It looks like it's made out of, well, this is really, really smart. They're Dollar Tree wood frames that she's turned into a lantern. That's really good. That's a really good idea. And really cute too. I can definitely finish up this project. Then the rest are from Walmart, and we have a harvest garland, cute wood pumpkins. Love garlands. We have a wooden birdhouse. There's some fall fabric. So this one has orange with black polka dots, and this one has some cute old vintage trucks with pumpkins in them. Love that. We also have some burlap leaves. These are pretty. They're kind of a green color. Oh, I am loving this. It's like a rustic wood sign. You can even use this side too. Ooh, maybe I'll use the back instead, kind of more of like a shadow box effect. We also, ooh, I don't have any of this. It is jute twine, but it's kind of bleached. It's not the normal neutral color. It's kind of more of a white or creamy tone. Love that. We have some fall picks with some velvet pumpkins on them. Those are pretty. Oh, I love this too. It's like a milk bottle with some gold metallic on the bottom. Now for the challenge items. So here's number 1. And it, what? It is a foam bath sponge. The only thing off the top of my head I can think is I can use this to sponge on paint to kind of get a rustic look or a faux paint look, but what could I make with this? What in the world can I make with this? If you guys have ideas, leave those down below for me. What would you make out of a foam bath sponge? I don't even know. That's not terrible, but here's the other item, so we'll see. Okay, so it's really light. Kind of feels like styrofoam. Oh my gosh. It's styrofoam. I'm assuming this is from the Latino engineer. Thank you so much. I have no clue. This is very creepy. This looks more like a Halloween DIY project in the making. Do you guys know, what would you make with this foam head? What in the world would you make with a foam head? I have no clue. So I'm gonna take a few days. I'm gonna get some ideas together, and the next time you see me, we'll get to crafting. All right, so let's do this challenge. I'm gonna start with a quick and easy one, and that is using these pumpkins from the Garland. We're gonna make some 3D pumpkins out of these. So I chose 2 pumpkins that were about the same size and color, and I'm just taking a hand saw and sawing just one of them in half, obviously making sure I'm covering up my work surface. I don't wanna be sawing down into my work table. This is just a piece of scrap wood that I had. I even kind of needed to break it in half just to make sure I didn't saw down into my table at all. And then came in with a sanding block because there was quite a bit of splinters going on. Smoothed that all out on both pieces. And then there were obviously holes in the tops of these pumpkins because it was part of a garland. And I want to cover that up. So this is some plaster stuff that you can get at Dollar Tree or like a spackle, and I'm just filling in those holes. Once the spackling was dry, then I sanded that down as well. Added a little bit of paint to kind of hide the white and make it blend in a little bit better. So I had out several different colors of brown paint and just kind of landed on this neutral caramel color. And then once that was dry, all I did was take some hot glue and glued one half of the pumpkin to the front of the other pumpkin, the other half to the back to give this that 3D effect. And now we're gonna make some fabric pumpkins. I had never done this before, but always wanted to and thought these were the perfect sized fabrics. They're fat quarters from Walmart to create these pumpkins with. So first starting by ironing out my fabric so I got all the wrinkles out. We're gonna flip this upside down so that the pattern is on top of your table, and also using some stuffing to make a ball to put in the middle of this fabric. I'm also going to be using some of the twine that was in my box, so cutting off a piece of that and setting that aside because we're going to need that and our hands are going to be full here in just a second. So make sure to prep that and have that ready to go. And then you're going to pull up the corners and all of the sides and gather those in the middle. Now I'm using that twine and tying off the top so that our fabric stays all together, and then tying on a longer piece of twine onto our pumpkin so we can kind of make those little ridges that you see in pumpkins, just twisting it around in different directions and pulling it at the bottom to make sure it's all kind of gathered. And then at the very top, when you pull it up to the top that one last time, we're gonna take that string and we're gonna gather all the fabric and twine together and twist it around and around to create the stem. When you get to the end there, you can cut off your twine and extra fabric and kind of bend the stem so it turns more into a pumpkin stem than one that's sticking straight up and down. I repeated this whole process with the truck fabric too to give me a cute set of fabric handmade pumpkins. I'm also going to be incorporating the burlap leaves from my box onto the tops of these pumpkins. They actually have wire down the middle of them, so I use that to kind of tuck into the twine, and then also folded the leaf a little bit to kind of give it some texture and some life instead of it just sticking straight down. That way it kind of lifted up a little bit too. Such a cute little set, and this would be a perfect project if you have lots of leftover scrap pieces of fabric. You could even use scarves or towels or even felt. Now for this lantern that she sent me, I thought it was so nice. I couldn't believe this was a project she hadn't finished yet because I could tell she put a lot of work into it and it looked so good. So we're just going to elaborate on what she had already finished. I'm going to hot glue on a finial to the top. I just found this at Hobby Lobby. It was around maybe $2, I would say. So not a bad price for a wooden accent piece. Once that was dry, I took it outside, and I know that Dollar Tree signs are made of MDF most of the time, and they're notorious for just sucking paint and you're not getting a nice finish. So a trick here is to spray all of that with a clear coat. It will seal it all in, and then you can come in with your spray paint or regular paint, because it will suck in even acrylic paint too, and go over that clear coat a few times. I'm using a matte black spray paint for this, spraying it completely, the inside, the out. I flipped it upside down, and I also took off one of those pieces of wood to allow for a hole, because I'm going to be adding some pumpkins and embellishments to the inside of this. These are all from Hobby Lobby, very inexpensive. Just tuck those all in there and then re-hot glued on that piece that I took out to allow space for all the embellishments. So I'm not sure what Yami's vision was in for finishing this project, but I hope I did her proud, as it is such a cute piece now that is going to sit on my fireplace for the rest of the fall season. Now for one of those challenge items, this bath sponge. I am going to credit Whitney from Whiskey and Wit, who is also part of this collaboration, and you'll see her video down in the description box in the playlist link too. She actually used Dollar Tree sponges to create a pumpkin pie slice and turned it into the cutest garland. I remember messaging her and telling her what a great idea it was. So this is totally her idea. I'm just recreating this here with this crazy bath sponge that Yami sent me. So I cut it down into a triangle and painted it orange, and then added a little bit of brown paint to this too, to give it more of a kind of baked look than a piece of cheese look. Now to make our crust for this piece of pumpkin pie, I'm using some foam, just kind of creating my own template with a pencil, and then cutting that out, adding some embellishment to the top too to give it that pumpkin pie crust look. And then of course Whitney did not skimp out and also added some whipped cream to the top of her pie, and I didn't want to miss out on that element because that's what really made it cute. So I didn't have any caulk to do this with, but I did have that spackling from Dollar Tree. I just watered it down a little bit, put it into a craft bag, cut the corner off, and piped that onto the top. I feel like pumpkin pie is kind of a controversial thing, or pumpkin flavored anything. Personally, I absolutely love every single thing pumpkin, and I love lots of whipped cream on my pumpkin pie too. But you let me know down in the comments below. Are you a pumpkin pie fan or a pumpkin lover of all things pumpkin? Let me know down below. And now for this birdhouse, I have to say I was a little bit more challenged by this item than I was the sponge item, because I wasn't quite sure what all you could do with a birdhouse other than use it as a birdhouse. But I did come up with the idea to just take the top off of this birdhouse. Obviously I had to take the sticker off first. Grabbed a screwdriver, and the top was just glued on, so they popped right off. We're gonna use this as a planter, but I also wanted to paint this so it looked nice too. So I'm starting with some brown paint to paint the bottom, and then using my plaster chalk paint to paint out the top. Now I had a decal already ready to go, so decided to add that onto the front of this little house, which I thought was perfect. It says gather, and it's also during fall and Thanksgiving time, so it seemed to work out nice to look like a little miniature house. Added some greenery to the top, and I have a repurposed birdhouse. So my idea for this was to try to recreate something like a milk jug container. You'll have to let me know how I do in the comments below when you see the end result. I'm using that twine again to make handles and hot gluing those onto the sides. I didn't want to cover up that gold bottom though. I really liked that part. So I taped that off and then came in with my plaster colored chalk paint and just painted up the top part along with those handles. So I feel like this totally changed the whole look, feel, and vibe of this piece. I added some fall greenery to the top and just love this new look. And now let's work on this beautiful wood sign. I'm basically just going to decorate it up for fall. I found this design on Creative Design Space and using a stencil material and also transfer tape that I will link down below because I always get so many questions about it. And I'm going to be using the back side of this sign instead of the front. So I'm removing all of the jute, the hardware, and anything in the way because we don't need that. Now I'm going to apply the stencil to that empty spot on the back, making sure it's pressed down firmly so that way we don't have any paint bleeds. Now all the words are going to get some of that plaster chalk paint. I like using chalk paint the best for stenciling because it's thicker, so it's less likely to bleed underneath your stencil. And then all of the leaves got a coat of the orange pumpkin chalk paint. And the best part of all is once everything is dry, removing that stencil to reveal your finished design. I'm also going to be incorporating the picks that were in my mystery box. I'm going to add some of the greenery to the side and then a pumpkin to the corner. Just hot gluing that all on to where it looks nice, but did my best not to cover up my stenciling. I'm not gonna lie, it took me quite a while to figure out what I was gonna do with this styrofoam head. And definitely keep watching because it gets weirder before it all makes sense, because we're also going to incorporate some of these plunger handles. They literally are wooden dowels from plungers you can buy at Dollar Tree. I'm cutting them down both to the same length, and we're gonna be attaching these to the bottom of this styrofoam head. So I kind of wiggled them into the styrofoam to make a hole and then attached it all with some hot glue and also added some white duct tape to also give it some added security. Now we're gonna be adding some terracotta pots, filling those with some styrofoam. I know this is getting weirder and weirder every second, but keep watching because it's gonna turn out really awesome in the end. Even though right now it's definitely looking totally weird. Now I'm gonna be using some white fabric because we're gonna be making a trick-or-treating ghost. So to do that, I folded my white fabric to a triangle shape and cut it so that when I opened it back up, I had a square. Now I'm going to keep this really simple using some black fabric paint to create two ovals for his eyes and then some orange fabric paint to create a little trick-or-treating bag. Then with a fabric marker, I wrote trick or treat onto that bag once the orange paint had dried. And then I also wanted to cover up the terracotta pots to look more like shoes. So I used some black felt to sort of wrap them and then created a circle to put on the top to cover up the styrofoam. All right, so here you go. Here is the weird and awkward styrofoam head body, but as soon as I add on that white fabric, it turns into the cutest trick-or-treating ghost. You can also add some stick pins into the top so that your fabric stays in place and it doesn't just roll off the top. Please hit that thumbs up button if you think I conquered this mystery box challenge with my DIYs. I would also love to have you hit that subscribe button if you are new, and I'll have more DIYs popping up on your screen you can check out next, but definitely check the description box to the playlist to move on to the next mystery box challenge video. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I will see you in the next one. Happy crafting!